Hello everybody and welcome to this video. In today's video I want to talk about what I learned by decluttering 90% of my belongings. Now, for a disclaimer, that did not happen like yesterday. I also don't really believe in just throwing out everything at once, but that happened over the past 5 years. But I'm absolutely not clickbaiting you here because I actually did declutter. I think at least 90% of my belongings. Maybe to break it down a bit more, I decluttered at least 80% of my clothes. I had previously 150 items, which is not that much, but I also only have like 20 items now. I decluttered most of my shoes, maybe 70%. I only own 3 pairs anymore. I decluttered 100% of my books, which was maybe 100 books, and now I don't own any. I decluttered all of my makeup. I decluttered like 98% of my sentimental items. I decluttered also 95% of my paper clutter at least. And a lot of miscellaneous stuff like electronics and stuff you just have, furniture, all different things that like you have. I don't know how to explain, just everybody has different things, but for me it has been like a random variety of everything. Also, at least 90% of my handcrafting stuff and supplies and other hobby things, I decluttered most of it. And I have to say, I don't regret it. But let's move on to the things I really learned by decluttering all of these things. So the first reason why I started to declutter was because I moved countries from Switzerland to Germany. That's not that far, but still, it's not very practical to take a whole big U-Haul or like equivalent to that in Europe. So I decluttered a lot of things. Back then I lived with my parents, so I did not have that much furniture, but still I decluttered a good chunk. I would say about 60% of my belongings then. And with the remaining 40%, they were like split up in several big backpacks and one car load full of stuff. I moved to Germany. And a few years ago, we moved to Sweden for half a year. And so the first lesson I learned from decluttering so much stuff is how freeing it is to not be tied down and held back by your stuff. The first move was really a big thing. I was always like, is my stuff in Germany? Is my stuff in Switzerland? Now I'm missing that and this, and I have to manage the whole move. And by moving to Sweden, we left a little bit of stuff here because we knew we would come back. I just had one backpack. And honestly, if I would move anywhere now, I would just take one backpack. And it's so freeing. And that's maybe a bit extreme, but even if it's not that extreme, if you can move with one carload, if you can move with just a limited amount of space, and if you can control that, if you can pack up your stuff in one day, that is freedom. And that is one huge thing I learned from decluttering 90% of my stuff. The second thing I learned from decluttering that much is that stuff most of the time is not that important. It's really the other things that make my life a good life, that make me successful, that make me a good mom. It is really not the stuff. And sometimes, if I declutter stuff, sometimes I have to buy new stuff, sometimes I have to change stuff, sometimes I lose something changes, something belongs to somebody else, I have to give it back, I don't know. Stuff moves, stuff changes, but it's not that important. I have rarely felt that my happiness or how I'm feeling depends on a piece of stuff, on something, on a physical thing. Of course, I really want to make it clear that I'm super lucky and privileged to have a home, to have enough money, to have enough food, to have just a life that works. So I'm saying all of this out of this point of view. So of course, stuff is very important when it comes to just having a house and having food. I really don't want to say anything about that here. I just want to say every surplus, all the must-haves and would be nice and another dress and another technical gear equipment thing, most of that does not make me happy, I realized. And I spent a lot of time upgrading things and thinking about what if I had this thing, it would make me so happy. It's not true. And I really realized that over the past 5 years by sometimes making this mistake and realizing, no, the new camera has not made me happier. Only this one. This one has really made a lot of things easier. Not really made me happier, but it has made this YouTube process a lot easier. So I'm super thankful for this camera. It has made my life better. The third lesson I have learned from decluttering 90% of my stuff is that sometimes decluttering is very hard. And I really don't mean that from a sentimental perspective right now. I just mean that sometimes trying to be responsible when decluttering is very hard, because I had a lot of stuff that was maybe handmade by somebody, that was custom made by my dad or my mom, or just I have altered over the time, or just stuff that is not really garbage, but you can also not really give it to somebody anymore. And then there's that huge dilemma, at least for me trying to live sustainably. What do I do with it? Because I don't want to keep it, but I can't really get rid of it in a good way because nobody wants it. I can't sell it. I can't give it away for free. I can maybe recycle it, but that's kind of a waste of resources. I could repurpose it, but I don't want it anymore. So I have realized that that is sometimes a really hard thing. For example, old fabric, pieces of fabric. I could make something out of that, but I realized I will never make something out of all of the fabric I have. So I wanted to declutter it. And the first time I decluttered a whole chunk of fabric, I just dumped it in the trash, and I regretted it afterwards because it's like, oh, these resources, I could have recycled it, or maybe somebody else wanted it, because at some moments in time I would have wanted some free fabric to use and make something out of. The second time I decluttered a lot of fabric, I could give it away for free on an online marketplace. But it taught me to be very careful with bringing things into my home, because I have to already think about what if I don't want that anymore at one point, or if it is likely that I will declutter it later again. I have to really think about how this is going to happen. So it makes sense to really pay attention to what comes into your home, to not have that problem of not knowing how to declutter it and having huge problems getting rid of it again. The fourth thing I have really learned is that we always change. Our life changes, our belongings change, our priorities change, and so it would be strange to think that our belongings should stay the same. I think since our life changes, for example, me moving out of my childhood bedroom to Germany, it would not have made sense to keep the exact same things, because then I moved into an apartment and needed furniture and kitchen stuff. But also moving into another apartment, I need different things. I had hobbies back then that I don't have anymore. I had to have all my school papers and stuff. And now I don't need them anymore. So why would our stuff stay the same if our life changes that much? That has really been a lesson, and that has also taught me to just be okay with things changing and be okay with decluttering again and again, even though maybe I thought I was done. The fifth thing I really learned from decluttering 90% of my things is that you're absolutely not obligated to keep things that other people think are necessary or that other people think you should keep just because they are normal to have. For me, that, for example, is makeup. I do not own a single piece of makeup anymore just because I realized I don't need it. Why should I keep it just because maybe one day I want to use makeup again? If I am sure I don't want to, then I can get rid of all of that, even though I'm a woman and maybe women mostly use makeup. I also got rid of 100% of my books. I don't own a single book anymore. And that is because I think I don't need books. I can borrow books, I can go to the library, I can buy books and give them away after I've read them, but I don't need to keep books, even though it is a very normal thing to have books and to put them on bookshelves and keep them. And the same also goes for dresses and skirts. I don't own any because I realized I don't enjoy wearing them. So why would I have some? Even for a fancy occasion, I can wear a pair of like chicer pants or something. I do not have to have a dress. And then I don't have to have one in my closet if I don't use one on a regular basis. And that has been so freeing, just realizing that I don't need to keep things that I don't need. The sixth thing is really that I realized after decluttering the first time and decluttering more and more and thinking about minimalism, I also had freed up so much time and energy for other things. I became very interested in sustainable fashion. I became very interested in sustainability in general. So I changed my life. I focused on trying to be to live an eco-friendly life, to only buy fair fashion or secondhand pieces. And that was so amazing because these were things I cared about before, but I just never had the time to think about those. I just would always feel a bit bad because I knew, oh, it is an important thing, but I don't have time or energy to focus on that right now. Going into minimalism, decluttering my life has really helped me have that time and energy for the things that are important to me. Of course, also my family, keeping a clean home now and a tidy home and things like that. That has just been very wonderful to see that I suddenly have enough energy and time to do these things. While decluttering, I learned the seventh thing, which is that decluttering can be very emotional now, really from a sentimental perspective, and it can be hard. But even though I've let go of a lot of sentimental items, a lot of things that I thought I needed later, again, a lot of things that are must-have items, just in case items, things that I thought I needed, but I realized I've never regretted anything. I have been decluttering for over 5 years now, and there has not been a thing where there was a problem because I decluttered it. So that has really taught me to believe that it is okay to let go of things. Of course, check in with your feelings. Of course, make sure that you don't regret it in the moment. But if you think about it, and if you're okay with letting go, or if you declutter it because you rationally thought about that you're not gonna need this, or that you have something else you can use instead, then it's okay. And most of the time you won't regret it. Most of the time you won't need it again. Of course it can happen. But is it really worth keeping 1,000 things because maybe you're gonna need them if you maybe only need 3 of these things again? I think it's a much better choice to get rid of 1,000 things, and maybe you have to rebuy or figure out a solution for these 3 things you actually end up needing again. That is actually, I think, a quote from Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, which I've read and decluttered a few years ago. The 8th thing I learned by decluttering all of these things is that it is really not about the number. I have to say I'm very fascinated by numbers. I'm very fascinated by the people that only own 50 things, 100 things, 200 things. But it's not about the number, because in the end it's so hard to count, because if I count and you count my things, we would end up with 2 different numbers. If I have a child, I maybe need different things as you do, because you maybe live in the country and you need a car, but I live in the city, I don't need a car. I have an apartment, so maybe I don't need things for a garden, but you have a house, so you need some things for the garden. So you can't really compare. The number will never help to compare, and even if you have the same number, you have different things. And even if you have the same things, you come up with a different number by counting them. Because do you count the charger and the electronic device? Do you count one pair of socks, or do you count all of your socks as one thing? Do you count your books as one library or each individual book? There are just so many things that people do differently that I decided to not focus on the number too much. I'm still maybe wanting to do a video one day where I count my things. Let me know if you would be interested in that. And maybe we should come up with some rules how to count things most efficiently. But maybe it's also just not important. But for your life, for your happiness, I can't tell you it's not important what the number is or how you count things. The 9th thing I've really learned is that one declutter most likely won't do it. A lot of people think that they can declutter once, and I thought that as well. I thought, like, I declutter my sentimental items now, and then I will have that things that I have for the rest of my life. And that's just so not true. Most of the time we always change. So if in 2015 I thought that is the amount of sentimental items, that is the amount of clothes, that is the amount of kitchen things that I need, maybe I have another opinion today. And so I ended up decluttering things again and again and again and again. So usually I have decluttered everything maybe 10 times now. Now I suggest not to obsess about it, not to walk through your house wondering could I declutter next? Is there anything I could let go of? That's maybe not the way, that's maybe more stressful than benefiting to you in the end. But definitely be aware that you don't have to do it all in once, because most likely you will change your opinion anyways, and you will go and declutter things at a later point in time in a different way. So if you're not sure about something, you can keep it, or you can put it away in a box to think about it again in 6 months. And just acknowledge that that is a journey, that it will not be done after one time, or if it's done after one time, you maybe are adding things in the future again. Things change, and decluttering is a process as well. I think it's not just a one-time thing. And the 10th thing is actually very important, and it is kind of strange to say that right now because I've talked so much about decluttering the things and how that has changed my life, but in the end, the 10th thing is that it is not about decluttering. It's even not about minimalism, because that is only a tool. That is only what brings us where we want to be. I really believe that minimalism is not about minimalism itself, but it's about making clear what is important to us, freeing up time and space for the things that are benefiting our lives, freeing up space for our families, our hobbies, the things we want to change in this world. So I really think, I've said that many times in my video, so I'm sorry if I'm really like telling you the same thing over and over again. But I really think it is that important. In the end, decluttering and minimalism is a great thing. It's very important in my life as well, but not as a goal and as a lifestyle per se, but just as a tool or as a method, filter, or something that helps me be more of myself, live more like I want to, and have the energy and time to be a part of this world, to actively contribute to what I want to see change in this world. Sustainability, social justice, all the things that I'm not happy with in this world, and all the things that I can give to the people around me. So let me know what you have learned from decluttering and how much you've decluttered, if you thought about that before, and I really hope you like this video. If you want to see more, I link you a video here and a playlist here, and I hope to also see you next time. Bye!